Hi everyone, welcome to this video here where we're going to go through what we mean by ragging content. Okay, so now we've got all our content organized. We know what it is that we need to cover, but we need to decide which parts we're going to start with first. So this is where ragging our content comes in. What you want to do is get a checklist and decide whether or not you want to rate each part of the course as red, amber, or green. If it's red, that's something that you really feel like we're going to have to relearn. If it's amber, we're going to work on retrieval. And if it's green, we're going to work on recap. Now, how we actually decide which is which is what we're going to have a look at now. When we're ragging content, we really want to make sure that it is based off some sort of information. So, have we tested ourselves recently on that content? Have we got any homework or any assessments that we can use to help inform us to understand whether or not something is a red, amber, or green? So, if we're talking about a red, this means something that you're going to struggle to remember or explain. So, it could be that you did a do now question in class, which you couldn't fully answer, or you scored lower than expected in this area on a homework or recent assessment. If it's amber, it means you can remember some aspects of it, but you're not sure of others. So you get parts of the question right, but occasionally you're going to miss out on some of those key details, or you dropped marks in this area on a homework or assessment, but you managed to give it a go on some bits. For green, this is something you feel confident that in an exam question, you could answer it in detail, and not just repeating a question you've done before, but applying that content into a new and a different question. So you can regularly take part in class discussions and share your ideas confidently about this sort of material. Now, when we come to plan our revision, it's important that we focus on the content in red. Later on in this video, I'm going to show you the study planner that we've put together to help you guide your revision across the next couple of weeks. So firstly, try and plan out your revision into 1 hour or 30-minute slots. It's important that you're taking regular breaks during your revision process. So if you plan ahead, you can make sure that the time you are using to revise is done so effectively. Now, firstly, we recommend that you schedule in your red topics first. You want to make sure you go over these multiple times over a long period of time. Keep coming back to them to make sure that you really do understand it. Next, we're going to focus on our amber content. The amber content, again, it's important that we build that into our revision, but perhaps you can use a little bit less of the time on the amber as you need to put on the red. Now, we're not going to ignore the green ones completely. We want to make sure we still keep that knowledge fresh in our minds. So make sure you put that in there and make sure you spend enough time recapping that knowledge and ensuring that you've got it as solid as you possibly can. Now, why does any of this actually matter? Firstly, if we can break our revision down into more manageable chunks, it makes it a lot easier for us to see the bigger picture and not feel so overwhelmed by this big word revision. It also makes sure that we're making effective use of our time. If we can make sure we use that time effectively, then we can have more time to relax and spend with friends and family. It's also key that we focus on the areas that we really need to improve. There's no point spending 3 or 4 hours revising over content that you already know and are confident on. And finally, it's important to repeat and revisit topics. The reason we do so many do now questions in school and we are constantly retrieving that knowledge is to make sure it stays fresh in our minds. If we forget about doing things and we leave it for a long period of time, it's really difficult to get it back into our memory. So here we have our study planner for the mocks. A copy of this should be given to you by your form tutor, and what you can see is at the top we have some guidelines as to what we feel would be a realistic time commitment over the coming weeks. The first thing you'll see is we recommend 2 hours on 4 weekdays after school. Well, I know that might seem a lot, but if you did an hour or two straight after getting home from school, you're still going to have plenty of time to relax and rest with your friends and family that evening. On the weekends, we recommend that you spend up to 4 hours on one of those days with some really focused revision. But again, make sure you take breaks. We're not saying do 4 hours non-stop, but we're saying over the course of that day, dedicate 4 hours towards your revision time. When half term comes along, we want you to do a similar thing as you would on a weekend day. Spend up to 4 hours focusing on that revision and spread it out over that course of those 7 days. Now, if you were to follow this over the next couple of weeks before your mocks, you'd actually have had 52 hours of extra revision. And that's not including anything that you could do at lunchtime or in any of our after school revision clubs. So there we have it, a brief overview into what we mean by ragging our content and how we can use it usefully to create a study plan moving forward. If you have any questions, then please drop an email to myself or Mr. Keats, and we'll be more than happy to help you and guide you in any way that we can. Good luck.